If you guys are looking for a place to get some reliable Ultimate Team coins, be sure to check the link in the description below to cointraders.co and use code LEGACY for 5% off of your purchase. How's it going, guys? Welcome back. Today we're going to be going over these playoff predictor cards. It appears that every single team did get one. They all got 90 overalls, and if you are not aware how they work, real quickly, if you finish in your division and you win the division, top 3 I'm assuming obviously, you get a 93 overall for said player. So if the Penguins get second in division, Dumoulin's gonna get a 93 overall. If they do not make playoffs, he gets 0 rating. He goes down to a 90 overall, and he stays at a 90 overall. I shouldn't say goes down to, he's already at a 90. And then if you make the wild card, say the Penguins make the wild card, then Dumoulin turns into a 98. Now these overalls are dynamic. They go up, they go down. Yes, that's right. They can go down, so keep that in mind. They can go from a 98 down to a 90 again, but it isn't until the season ends where their overalls become official and they officially stay at a 90, a 93, 98. So today we're going to go over some players I think that are good players to buy and some bad ones that you should probably avoid buying. And guys that I think are obviously going to get the best chance at winning the wild card are going to be guys who go over today, because a 90 overall is fantastic. And I do want people to keep in mind when they are buying this stuff, 90 overalls, boys. They are 90 overalls. All-star game cards that are 90 overall right now are going for 150K. So don't get caught spending too much on some of these suckers, especially teams not making a playoffs. That's obviously the first one. Just don't buy teams that are clearly missing the playoffs. That's why we're seeing the Travis Zajaks of the world going for 175K, the Bo Horvats for 250K. But we're going to start off here. The Montreal Canadiens, Jonathan Drouin. I'm starting off here for one reason. The price alone. Honestly, I think it's a very good candidate. I love the chances of the Canadiens making a wild card. And Jonathan Drouin very well could go for 600K for a little bit there temporarily, but we always do have to keep in mind that this is Team of the Year season. These guys will be at 98 when there's 30 other guys with 98 overall. So do keep that in mind, how much they are going to stay up at 700K when there's probably a whole bunch of 99 overalls as well. The thing I don't like about it though is this. They're 2 points ahead of the Blue Jackets. They're 2 points ahead of the Penguins. And they have 2 games in hand on Columbus, 1 game in hand on Pittsburgh. And do you really think we're going to keep the Penguins out of the playoffs? That's what I'm having a hard time chewing on here. I think the Canadiens are a very good chance, very good chance of getting that wild card. I don't see them being a top 3 team in that division. I think the Leafs, Bruins, Lightning, they'll have that locked down. But for 700K, you have to consider the risk for the reward here. If the Canadiens cool down and all of a sudden they drop out of that wild card spot and they're doing bad, that Jonathan Drouin is going to go from 700K all the way down to 200K. And for that, I do not like buying Jonathan Drouin. Secondly, we have is Travis Konecny. I don't quite understand why this guy's 320K right now. I brought it up before. The All-Star cards that are 90 overall are going for 150K. Keep that in mind. The Philadelphia Flyers sold at the trade deadline. When you sell at the trade deadline, you don't exactly expect to make playoffs, even if you are just selling guys with a contract year coming up here, because normally you want to keep those guys if you expect to make playoffs and kind of use them as your own rental. The other thing with the Flyers, 8 of their next 14 games are against Toronto, Washington, Pittsburgh, and the New York Islanders. They have a daunting march of a schedule. I don't think it happens. I don't think the Flyers have a chance of making playoffs, and for that, Travis Konecny is a big avoid. Sticking with the Metro, though, I think the Metro is where the money's at. I like PierreLuc Dubois. I like the Blue Jackets. He's 300K. The Blue Jackets went all in. They're trying to make playoffs, obviously. That division is very crowded right now. You have the Islanders, you have the Carolina Hurricanes, and you have the Washington Capitals right now in the top 3 spots, which I don't feel comfortable saying the Blue Jackets are going to take the wild card spot, but I do feel comfortable saying they can take a playoff spot, and at the very least, Luc Dubois will be at 93, and right now they are in a playoff spot and they are in a wild card spot. I keep thinking about the Penguins they're going to find a way. The Penguins and Capitals, they've started the year slow many times. When it comes crunch time, though, those boys turn the season around, and I can almost imagine the Penguins jumping both of the Blue Jackets and the Montreal Canadiens. But I like PierreLuc Dubois right now. Playoff spot, a 98 overall for 300K. I like the chances. Then a little bit of a sleeper pick here could be Josh Bailey. I'm probably going to pick up a Josh Bailey. I'm going to be completely honest. You look at the Islanders, and they have been playing just outstanding this year. But you wonder, how long is this goaltending play gonna continue? It's not like these aren't Vezina winning goaltenders. Goalies do get hot. Remember Andrew Hammond? You remember the Hamburglar days? I worry about the Islanders and their goaltenders start to have a couple bad outings, 3, 4, 5 in a row. And all of a sudden they go from the top of the division all the way down to the wild card spot. It's not that many points. Is it 5? It's 5 points, I think, from first place to the wild card. A couple slip-ups. I'm not saying the Islanders miss playoffs, but a little slip-up, And all of a sudden, that Josh Bailey, that's a 90 overall right now, goes to a 98 and is worth a heck of a lot more than 200K. Even at a 93 overall, 200K is looking pretty nice if you're asking me. I would happily scoop him up for 200K right now. Like I said, the best thing I can do is just keep in mind, this is Team of the Year season, and you want to be very, very, very careful with these guys. It's fun and exciting to see these guys potentially get the 98s, but if you see that 98's not coming and Team of the Year's out, you got to dump them. You can't get sentimentally attached to these cards because they will burn you at the end of the day, because the second those Team of the Year's out, people are not going to want to be buying these. I almost questioned buying them in first place because of that, because the fire sale comes, but because there's 98 overalls being involved, I think that does help. And then last but not least, we will throw in Dumoulin for the same reason. The Penguins, I think they're making the playoffs. They're not in the playoffs right now. 300K. I think he'll probably go a little bit lower than that, so you could probably grab him, 250-ish at some point in time. There's only 2 of them up. But you got to assume the Penguins are making the playoffs, and there's just so many teams they got to jump to get into the divisional area that I think it is very possible that they could end up in a wild card spot. And I'm going to be honest, I don't like having to do this, but I really don't like anybody in the Western Conference. I'm going to go through some of the guys in the Western Conference. I know you guys are probably question about, or if you like or don't like, whatever. So I'll explain my reasoning behind this. We'll start off with Lindell on Dallas. He's 440K. I think he's an extraordinary pickup. I think there's a very good chance he gets an upgrade. But at 440K, when I can take a chance on a guy that's 300K, 150K cheaper, that's where I want to go. Dallas has the easiest schedule, I think, out of all these guys. I actually stopped and started looking at schedules. Like I brought up the Flyers. I was like, you got to look at it, right? If you want to make the coins, you might as well do some research and look at the schedule to improve your chances. And the Dallas Stars have one of the easiest schedules remaining. So I think the chances of them making playoffs are very, very good. But still, 440K. It's steep. And here's my one other concern with the Dallas Stars. I brought up how easy their schedule is, and the team right ahead of them is the St. Louis Blues and Binghamton. He's been on fire. Absolute fire. And we talked about this earlier. These goalies, they hit hot streaks. They hit cold streaks. He hits one of them 4 or 5 game cold streaks. The Blues are on fire right now. But don't forget, the Blues were at the bottom of the division there for a little bit. Teams get hot and teams get cold. If they get cold, a little cold, Dallas is hot. I see, the Blues falling out of the division area to the wild card. But my problem with Binghamton is he's a goalie, and goalies do not go for very much. Even at a 98 overall, I question how much somebody would pay for him. And for that, again, the risk reward, it's not something I'm a fan of. People might like that. That might be something great. You want to take a chance on a 200K goalie that has a 98 overall potential. You know what? He probably has a great potential of it happening. Go ahead and pick one up, but I'd be very careful ever paying for a goalie because they are by far the ones most likely to get the value out of all these cards being out. Then finally, the last team that's kind of packed together here in the divisional area over there is, well, there's Colorado, but I looked at Colorado's schedule as well. I didn't really like Colorado's schedule. They got a pretty tough schedule. I shouldn't say it's really tough, but it's not Philadelphia Flyers tough, but it's pretty in there. It's pretty mesk. I wasn't a fan of it. But I did like the Minnesota Wild. I like the Minnesota Wild. I'm like, you know what? Minnesota playoffs, it's destined to happen. They're a good team. They make playoffs. But then Jared Bergeron's 5'9". How many people want a 5'9" defenseman? In a game where spam poke, hitting, sticklet, whatever, the height matters. A 5'9" defenseman, I just don't imagine a lot of people jumping for joy to get. If you feel like you can get this 5'9" defenseman and sell him for a lot, by all means, do it. He's only 290K. He's still a great buy at that point. A 98 overall, that's what bothers me is he's short, and I wonder how many people will buy him. But you know what? Like I said, I haven't played HUD a lot lately. Maybe people love using the 5'9" guys, but for most part, usually people don't want the short defenseman, but they can make it work. Jared Bergeron is a great candidate for that. Like, don't take my word for it. If you think you can get something out of a 5'9"er, do it. I don't imagine him going for 290K if he's a 98, maybe 400K, 500K possibly. But it's so jam-packed in the Western Conference. Any team can fall out. Any team can jump in. There's so many of them. It's just, you got to watch very carefully if you take the Western Conference teams. Because like I said, those 90 overalls aren't going to be worth anything. They will be worth 150K, 120K, and everybody will be fire selling them. You'll get lucky to get 100K. You'll seriously be lucky when offensive team of the year comes out, if it comes out when it normally does, which is the last week of the year. You'll be lucky to get 100K for some of these 90 overalls because people will be fire selling them that hard because they want to buy the team of the years. But that's just my opinion. If you have questions on any other players, please do let me know. As always, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.